Greetings, this is Darvane and welcome to the third in my series of tutorials on how to create and play HeroQuest using Roll20. Now there's a number of options that we could do to improve this game. At the moment we are using D6 rolls for everything, and one of the easiest things that you can do is create a combat die so you can roll combat dice. And the easiest way to do that is to use a rollable table. So you can add a table and then you click on it to edit it, and we're going to call that combat die. There we go. Then what you do is you add items to it. In this case we have a skull which is weighted at 3. And you'll notice if I go up to here I've already got images for the dice, which I already say you can just drag and drop. Save that. You add a second option which is the white shield, which is weighted at 2. And we can save that, and then we'll add the black shield, aka the evil bunny of death, which is a weight of 1. Go, save changes. And that is pretty much your table. That's all you need. And you can roll it direct from that. See? We go, and it will come up and show you the results. And so you've essentially got combat dice. Now, if you look at the command here, you'll notice that it's not D6 to use numbers, but it's actually specifically saying roll once on T for table and the rollable table that you've got, in this case combat die. So just to show you how that works, it's roll 1 T, square brackets for a rollable table, combat die, done. And you can do that, and you can do that as often as you want. It's a bit cumbersome to type out, so, but it's worth noting so that you can do it if you ever need to, because there's no reason why you couldn't do that. I mean, that's all you need to do to see. If you don't put the roll front, like I sometimes don't, which is, see, it's my dyslexia coming in, makes coding a bit of a pain. But yeah, roll / roll for the command, 1T combat die. There you go. So we've got the barbarian. The barbarian wants to attack. How do we change that? Let's roll 3 times on the table, combat die. There you go. And then you get your results. T, combat die. Now what is interesting things you can do is you can create macros to speed it up. For example, we can go to the barbarian, attributes and abilities. We can add the ability to do stuff that we will automate. For example, an easiest one is the barbarian. We know the barbarian's going to roll to move a lot, so we can create an ability called move, where it simply rolls 2d6 for us. We can save that. Can roll it ability to make sure it moves, works. Go 2d6. These options, if you have a macro, you can reveal a macro bar at the bottom to make it nice and easy. In this case, it shows you can end up with loads of them, or you can have a token action so that when the token is selected, like so, you get the options over here where you can roll it to move. Now we can refine that macro a bit because we've set that as 2d6, but what if their move changes for some reason? Well, because if we put the move to say 1 and we roll the macro, they're still going to roll 2d6. Well, the easiest way to do that is you can replace, and you see this little tag down here, you can replace this with the @ some curly brackets and the move. And when we test that out, as long as that, because it's the token, it will look at whatever value move is and we'll do it. So for 2, let's just say you have 2, but the wizard has cast Swift Wind on the barbarian. Well, that goes to 4. We can then roll that, and you've got 4d6 for a move of 17. The barbarians, but at the moment we'll leave it as standard, and so yeah, leave that standard, let that update, and then we roll. Basically you have to press enter in the thing to do it. This is useful because not because you can easily remember move, but you may remember that attacking and rolling combat dice is a pain. So let's create an ability called attack. Which does essentially the same thing. We want to roll, and now it's the number in it, or variable, in this case attack, T for table, square brackets, combat die. Test it. You go, there's 2. Put it in the token bar, so you can use it from up here for your players. And the wizard has cast courage, giving him the barbarian 5. Change it to 5. Okay, let that go through because it can take a little bit of a lag. Try and slow down. You roll 5 dice. It really is that simple. And the other, but you'll notice that the chat is quite bland. It's not telling you much of what's going on when using these abilities, which can easily be done by adding a bit of text to the front of the macro. In this case, can be, for example, the barbarian moves. Simply test it, it comes up, it says the barbarian moves, and then it does the rest of the macro. And that's pretty much. You can fancy up the text a bit, get templates, stuff like that. However you want to do it, it's easy enough to look up. That is quite useful for doing sorts of things. If we go to collections, you can add a macro say we want, I'm just going to put a standard macro in for attack, which detects the creature. I'm going to put the monster attacks, and then we will do roll. Okay. Now, because it's a macro that's outside of a character, in order to get it to refer to you can get it to refer to a specific character. So it's like, okay, we could have it as using the orc attack in this case. But what if you've got more than one monster and you just want to use the same thing? Well, the simple way to do that is to use the selected tag. So it's basically to use the selected token character that's associated. Okay, straight bar down, and then we go with the attack variable. T combat die. Okay, so we select the orc, we test the macro, the monster attacks, rolls 3 combat die. Okay, now let's say, with the purposes to show we've got the barbarian selected, roll the test the macro, still comes up with the text that we got because we haven't changed it. If you wanted to get that to change depending on what, you can put in a variable with a string text. For example, you might want to put in say class or name variable, which would be barbarian or orc, and then it would say the selected name attacks. So it would be like the barbarian attacks or the orc attacks, and then we'll carry on using selected. And so that's pretty much how you use macros. Save that, and basically you can roll that from the macro, or you can put it in the macro bar if that's easier. But the other thing you can do, say it's an obscure one that you don't want on a bar, but you might want to call sometimes. You can call macros direct in chat as well. For example, the orc, and we can go hashtag attack. You can type it in, and it runs the macro to attack. And it really is that simple. That is pretty much everything you need. You could do one for attack and another one to defend, or you could just do a simple macro to roll combat dice. And then, but it's up to you. I mean, say we had one for attack and then we had something for defend. For example, say it defends with the hero defends with 1 character dice. You can use your created defend macro, and it's easy to work out. For example, in this case, the monster attacks with 3, rolls 1 skull. Character who only defends with 1 for whatever reason fails to defend because they rolled a skull and not a white shield, or a black shield in the case of a monster, so they lose a body point. That is pretty much all you need to run, because you can cover any scenario with that. Our macros are essentially used to automate common sequences that come up in your games. So for example, if you've got a wizard player and you want to add the spells, for example, the spells might be macros either on the character or outside, depending on whether the wizard uses the same spells all the time or not. And finally, the last of the collections, we have decks. Because one of the important things, you could decide that, you know, for example, the treasure deck, only the GM needs to see the treasure deck and they can just tell or type what people reveal by drawing a card if they've got a physical deck available. But what if you don't? Well, simple thing to do is you can add a treasure deck. And we're going to create a very, very simple treasure deck. I mean, you could create a rollable table for a treasure deck. Same thing. Say you want it random between traps, wanted monsters, and gold, or nothing. That's 4 options. You can add the weight in. You can do that, and it would do that. But with a treasure deck, it allows you to get card manipulation involved. So, in this case, for example, we were going to set it to, we will let the players draw. Okay. We can, decks in the card are infinite, gives you the option on how you want to do, like does the deck run out of cards, in which case you can't draw anymore, or does it reshuffle, or does it put the card back in, even if the copy is out or whatever. So, can also control whether there's a discard pile, and who can choose cards from the decks if that's what you want to do. So we're going to go with GM, choose, show front. Cards are played face up. You can set for card size, but it's best to leave blank. And then we've got some options for other things. Okay, first and foremost, you need a back for the card. So we're going to, I've already got these done and down in my artwork, cards, treasure, and we have treasure back. So we're just going to drag that over there. Okay. And like tables, all you do is you add cards. This can be quite consuming if you've got a massive deck, but I'll just give you an example. So let's say we want a wandering monster. Okay, there we go. You create a monster, save the changes. Now if we want 2 wandering monsters, you have put in a second wandering monsters card in the deck. Save it. Did you not save it? No. Typical wandering monster. Must not have dragged it properly or saved it. Now you'll notice that it can be awkward because what happened before, the deliberate mistake as it were, I added the card and it appeared automatically over the top. So when I dragged the thing over to drop a file, it actually dropped into the card back, which is not what we want. But that's easy to fix. We can just replace that, return that to treasure. Now we want some other ones. Let's have a trap card. Okay. Trap card. Done. Let's add a potion of healing card. Okay. Can have we'll go with a gold card for random gold. And what else we got? We've got gem card. finally we're going to add a nothing card. Okay, and that's our deck that we'll use for simple. I mean, most of it is just getting our assets to put in. Once you've done it, we can go to the decks. Now we've got 7 cards in our treasure deck. What we're going to do is going to show the cards so they show up here. Okay, we want to shuffle. Okay, now we can deal cards from the deck. Now we can direct them, we can deal them to players. Or we could click to draw, or we can drag them to deal if we want as well. Commonly for a treasure card, let's just drag it. The cards are quite small compared to the board, so you can either expand it or you can zoom in depending on what you want to do. And I believe that's what the card size is for. If you find a size that's useful to you, you can put that in so that the cards will appear at that size on the board, I believe. So, and once they're on the board, you can put them as tokens or do whatever depending on what settings. In this case, it's the gem card. We can just go, okay, have a variable for, note down that you've got found 50 gold, delete the card, done. Okay, let's deal another one. Wandering monster, same thing. Okay, well then we just drag out an orc. Okay, now we've got the same thing, potion of healing. You can note it down, but what you can also do is drag it. I mean, well, the player can, if it's drawn like that, the player can pick it up. So you can take the card and it will show up here. You can then, and you can see a bigger version of it if you want to see what's in your hand. If you want to play a card, it's useful if you're using the spell cards, for example. But potion of healing, okay, you play it, you use it, you heal 4 hit points, 4 body points. Of course, if we shuffle, let's shuffle the cards again. We can also choose the cards because we put that option into this deck. So, okay, you found a potion of healing. We can deal that one straight to the player and do it exactly the same thing. So it's all pretty simple, and if you want to, you can say at the end of the session, you go, right, okay, recall all the cards and we will shuffle them. There you go, job done. And that's pretty much it. So I do encourage everyone to, there are other virtual tabletops that do similar things. So for example, I mean, Fantasy Grounds is another common one, but I just kind of got into using Roll20 and really enjoyed doing it. So yeah, have a play, find what you want to do, and do it to create your game of HeroQuest. You can customize it as much as you want. You can automate it pretty much as you want. If you're using tokens from FanMod or whatever, you can easily incorporate them. As long as you've got the assets that you want and can upload them to Roll20 or any other virtual tabletop, you are sorted and can play HeroQuest. Now, I have pretty much the PNGs for the base game for both the UK and US editions, although I've only uploaded, where stuff has been copied over, I've only uploaded the UK edition. because I just prefer the aesthetics of the UK edition. So I will be willing to share those if people want them, but it's easy enough because the assets I got were mostly downloaded from Ye Olde Inn that have scans of all the cards and materials that you can use in image editing software to create PNGs. Likewise, with going back to the maps, I use Dungeonographer because I use that a lot, but you could use something like HeroScribe or even draw the map directly into Roll20 if you feel like it. The tokens, again, you could get the token monster and hero tokens you could get from HeroScribe, for example. But I actually took these from HQ Resource because I like the bitmapped aesthetic that they have. So yeah, and quite frankly, just go ahead and play. Do whatever you feel like, because that is pretty much how you create the game. And to show you what the player will see, let's reveal, say we want to reveal that area there, we'll do that. It's just, I'm just doing it, like I said, I've shown you how to do this in the first tutorial. Say we want, that's the board that's revealed. As a GM, you can rejoin as player. See, this is what the players would see. There you go. Everything else is revealed. There's advanced fog of war options, so that you could have basically line of sight, so that it goes kind of grey. But with everything they revealed, dynamic lighting does similar things. It's entirely up to you. I totally encourage you to play and explore Roll20 for whatever you feel it needs. And if you have any hints, tips or tricks, maybe some good assets for Roll20 or whatever, be sure to share them with the rest of the community. And this has been Darvain in the third and final, I imagine, tutorial for how to create and play HeroQuest using Roll20. So until the next time, goodbye.